Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man, has undergone significant character development across various decades, with his evolution reflecting both changing societal values and his own personal growth. Here's an overview of his transformation. 1960s, Introduction and Flaws. Tony Stark debuted in Tales of Suspense number 39 in 1963, created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Don Heck, and Jack Kirby. Initially, he was portrayed as a wealthy, brilliant, and somewhat arrogant inventor and industrialist. His character was inspired by real-life figures like Howard Hughes. Stark's arrogance, however, often put him in situations where he had to use his intellect and technological prowess to overcome challenges. His early stories focused on him dealing with threats to his company, technology, and sometimes, the world. His character lacked much depth early on and was more of a traditional hero battling clear-cut villains. 1970s, Reinvention and Personal Struggles. In the 1970s, Tony's character began to evolve beyond just a wealthy playboy with high-tech gadgets. His persona began to address more personal flaws, such as his ego and irresponsibility. This period also marked the start of Stark's struggles with alcoholism, which became a major part of his character in the 1979 storyline Demon in a Bottle. Stark's battle with alcoholism humanized him, showing that even a genius inventor and billionaire had deep personal flaws that could threaten both his professional and personal life. This was a key turning point in his development, as it reflected a shift in comic book heroes from simple, morally infallible figures to more complex, relatable ones. 1980s, Leadership and Responsibility. By the 1980s, Tony Stark had become a more responsible and mature figure. He joined the Avengers and was portrayed as a leader, tasked with making difficult decisions that required a combination of diplomacy, intelligence, and technological ingenuity. While he still struggled with personal demons, like his alcoholism, his role within the superhero community grew, and he was seen as an essential member of teams like the Avengers and the West Coast Avengers. His leadership qualities began to emerge more strongly during this era, and he became more focused on larger, global concerns. 1990s, Deconstruction and Reinvention. In the 1990s, the Iron Man comics began to explore more philosophical and technological dilemmas, often questioning the role of superheroes in society. This era saw Stark dealing with more complex issues, including corporate malfeasance, the ethics of weapon manufacturing, and his relationship with technology. The Armor Wars storyline, 1987, dealt with Stark trying to prevent his technology from falling into the wrong hands, highlighting his awareness of the consequences of his inventions. During this time, Stark's persona was re-examined through the lens of corporate responsibility and the ethical implications of being both a tech mogul and a superhero. 2000s, Techno-optimism and rebuilding. In the 2000s, Tony Stark's character was redefined in a major way. The comics embraced his role as a tech visionary and innovator, and his character began to lean into the concept of techno-optimism, where he used his inventions to solve world problems. This decade also marked a reinvention in terms of Stark's internal battles. The Extremist storyline, 2005, by Warren Ellis and Adi Granov was a major turning point, where Stark essentially rebooted his own body through advanced technology, integrating the Iron Man suit directly into his physiology. This was both a metaphorical and literal new beginning for Stark, showcasing his adaptability, his constant evolution, and his determination to stay ahead of the curve. 2010s, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, and global hero, Tony Stark's character development reached new heights in the MCU, where he was portrayed by Robert Downey Jr. from his first appearance in Iron Man, 2008, the character evolved significantly. The film adaptation of Stark leaned heavily into his transformation from a self-centered, weapons-dealing industrialist to a global hero, with a focus on his growth and redemption. His relationships, particularly with Pepper Potts, his development as a leader within the Avengers, and his ever-present fear of failure and responsibility, were central themes. The Infinity Saga, culminating in Avengers, Endgame, 2019, saw Stark's ultimate growth, from a man who initially only cared about himself to one who would sacrifice everything to save the universe. Key moments in the MCU that defined his growth include his acknowledgement of his mistakes, for example, his realization of how his weapons were used for harm in Iron Man. His responsibility toward protecting the Earth, shown in his pivotal role in the Avengers films. His personal redemption arc, particularly in Avengers, Endgame, where he finally accepts his destiny as a leader and hero, ultimately sacrificing his life to stop Thanos. 2020s, Legacy and Influence. In the 2020s, Tony Stark's legacy continues to influence the Marvel Universe. Even after his death in Endgame, His impact remains central to the storylines in both comics and films. His technology and ideologies continue to shape the actions of characters like Riri Williams, Ironheart, who inherits his mantle, and his relationship with his AI assistant, Jarvis, later becoming Vision, continues to resonate throughout various media. His story is less about what he physically does in the moment and more about how his influence reverberates after his death. Conclusion: through the decades, Tony Stark has evolved from a somewhat one-dimensional wealthy inventor to a deeply flawed, self-aware hero who struggles with his own demons, responsibility, and legacy. His character arc reflects broader themes of redemption, the consequences of technology, and the power of leadership. Stark's journey from arrogant playboy to self-sacrificing hero, especially in the MCU, cemented him as one of the most complex and beloved characters in modern pop culture. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Let me know your thoughts or questions down below.